Hi, I'm Kirsten McDade, Pollution Prevention Specialist with Resources. I am so very glad you are joining us for a tour of this very large and very complex cleanup site. The former Georgia Pacific West site, located on the banks of Bellingham Bay, has been an iconic place both in terms of its industrial past and now with the anticipation of its cleanup and redevelopment. Perhaps many of you already know that this site was home to the Georgia Pacific Pulp and Tissue Mill, along with a chlor-alkali plant. And I bet many of you know that mercury contamination has been a hot topic for this site. The purpose of this tour is to give you an overview of these industrial practices that led to the contamination that we are cleaning up today, with a specific emphasis on the cleanup plan for the chlor-alkali area. Because from July 6th to August 4th, the draft cleanup action plan is open for public comment. This means that you have the opportunity to tell the Department of Ecology and the Port of Bellingham about your thoughts on this cleanup plan. We are hoping this tour may answer some of your questions and even perhaps stimulate some new ones. Looking at the virtual tour map, some of the tour stops are located behind a metal fence, like tour stops 3, 4, 5, and 6. Other tour stops allow you to peer into the site, and we've included green binocular icons to let you know where good vantage points are. To hear about a specific area within the cleanup site, click on the numbered circle and click again on the image to watch a video. You can use earphones to better hear or read the full script that is also provided. Click on tour stop number 2 to hear Eleanor Hines, lead scientist and North Sound Baykeeper at Resources, to talk about the Model Toxics Control Act that governs how property is cleaned up in Washington State. The next stop, number 3, Brian Gowron from the Port of Bellingham will talk about cleanup that has already occurred on the site and what we can expect to see in the future, development-wise. Stops number 4 through 6 will discuss the different aspects of the draft cleanup action plan, and we have John Gunther with the Department of Ecology and Steve Jermiat with Aspect Consulting. Lastly, Ian Foley, also with the Department of Ecology, will wrap up our tour with specifics on how you can submit a public comment. During pre-settlement times and since time immemorial, this area has been inhabited by the Coast Salish peoples, specifically the Lummi and Nooksack tribes. This was the site of very productive mudflats where shellfish and crabs were harvested and where indigenous peoples lived and fished on the banks of Whatcom Creek. Dredge spoils and other materials were used as fill to create much of the land that we will be talking about today. The GP West site actually consists of about 74 acres, but in 2013 it was split into 2 areas termed Remedial Action Units to expedite cleanup for that portion of the larger site that was considerably more straightforward to remediate, namely the 38 acres that was formerly the Pulp and Tissue Mill portion of the GP's larger mill site. As of 2016, that portion of the site has been cleaned up. Woohoo! This is where the Waypoint Park is located, along with the renovated granary building and the very popular pump track. The draft cleanup action plan for the remaining 36 acres that was contaminated largely by the chlor-alkali plant that operated between 1965 and 1999 is what we are discussing in this tour. So, what is a chlor-alkali plant and how did it cause so much contamination? Well, the main purpose of a chlor-alkali plant is typically to produce chlorine gas. And I bet you can guess why chlorine was a desired commodity at this site. You got it. It was used as bleach in the pulp and tissue plant. Apparently most people don't care for brown tissue. There is an abundance of chlorine in our environment, in Bellingham Bay actually, but it is locked up in a sodium chloride solution, otherwise known as saltwater. Initially, electrolysis separates the chlorine from the sodium in the saltwater brine and is then taken out of solution in a gaseous form to be used for bleaching and other industrial uses. The sodium, the other half of salt, then temporarily binds with mercury. The sodium further reacts with water to create sodium hydroxide, or caustic soda, that was used on site as well as sold to other industries. The mercury is removed from the caustic soda and, in theory, is kept contained and reused over and over again. Another product of this process is hydrogen, and this was used for fuel. So, unfortunately, the mercury did not stay contained in the chloralkali plant. It leaked. It was in processed wastewaters that got spread around, and in fact, widespread contamination has been found in this area. The caustic soda has also caused areas to be very high in pH, which is problematic, as we will learn in video number 5. And as you may guess, this process of creating chlorine gas, caustic soda, and hydrogen fuel from salt water used a lot of energy and machinery, which means petroleum hydrocarbons, including polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, are also contaminants at this site. Just across Laurel Street is a 3-acre piece of land referred to as the lignin parcel, and this is also included in this cleanup plan. This area was used to store lignin-containing products that were considered byproducts of the pulping process and included such diverse products as vanilla flavoring, pharmaceuticals, dust retardants, and solvents. Investigations have shown this area to be contaminated with metals and polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons. So, thank you for taking the time to listen or read about this cleanup site, and I hope you stay tuned to watch the other videos in this tour. Next up is Eleanor to talk about the Matka cleanup process. This tour is hosted by resources under a public participation grant awarded to us by the Department of Ecology, where we aim to elevate your knowledge about the Model Toxics Control Act so you can have your voice heard in this public process.